jornalistas, que nós todos, esses colegas trabalham juntos para fazer esses eventos possíveis para apresentar para vocês. Bom, gostaria de agradecer à professora André pelo aceitar o convite, tá certo, que está presente conosco. Professora André, ela é assessora, ela é superintendente, ela é atualmente superintendente de gestão ambiental da UEMA e ela é membro do Fórum Estadual da Educação Ambiental do Maranhão. A professora é formada em Ciências Biológicas pela Universidade Federal do Maranhão. A professora é mestre em Ciência e Engenharia Ambiental pela Universidade do São Paulo, doutora em Ciências Biológicas na área de Biologia Vegetal pela Universidade Estadual Paulista Júlio de Mesquita. Professora, você está bem-vinda. Eu gostaria de agradecer com palavras de superintendência que você aceitou o nosso convite, que está presente conosco, tá bom? Estou falando de banca, mas não é uma banca, é uma mesa, tá bom? É só para a gente falar bem dos nossos alunos, né, para não ficar com medo, que não tem nenhuma pergunta vai ser, tá relacionada ao trabalho. Não fica preocupado com essa parte. Tá certo? Porque quando a gente fala de banca, né, alunos ficam preocupados, vai me perguntar, não tem nada de pergunta, é só para, nós vamos testar, será que os alunos, eles estão aptos, né, são como que eles conseguem apresentar na língua estrangeira, tá bom? É uma motivação que a gente está dando para nossos colegas, tá bom? Professor André, muito obrigado para aceitar o convite. A outra professora que está presente conosco, nossa colega, né, professora doutora Malu Silva de Carvalho, tá certo? Ela é atualmente professora da Universidade Estadual do Maranhão, e a nossa colega, ela participa da coordenação da Comissão Pedagógica do Ateliê de Criação Urbana Equinox. Se eu falei alguma coisa errada, o professor me corrigiu, tá bom? Professora Marluce, muito obrigado por aceitar o convite e, né, estar presente conosco nesse momento. A professora Marlu Silva de Carvalho, ela possui doutorado, né, na área de urbanismo, no programa de pós-graduação em urbanismo da Faculdade de Arquitetura e Urbanismo da Universidade Federal do Rio de Janeiro. A professora é mestre também pela Universidade Federal de Pernambuco, tá certo? É formada no arquitetura e urbanismo. Então, essa é a primeira introdução sobre as professoras que estão presentes, tá bom? Professor Marluce, muito obrigado por aceitar o convite e estar presente conosco. Eu queria passar por ele, se ele quer adicionar algumas palavras. Professor André, para antes de iniciar a nossa...
Saudações, bom dia a todas e todos. Só queria agradecer a oportunidade de mais uma vez estarmos aqui juntos no nosso evento da Superintendência de Relações Internacionais e saudar os estudantes acerca desse esforço que nós sabemos que é para estar à frente, apresentando seus trabalhos, suas produções nessa língua que nos ajudará também nessa internacionalização e nessa aproximação. Então, as perguntas serão em inglês, mas por hora em português. Saúdo a todos, obrigada.
Tá, obrigado, professor André. Professora Marluce, você quer falar alguma coisa inicial?
Inicialmente, bom dia a todos, todas, todes. E, inicialmente, é claro, eu quero agradecer o convite. Eu sou muito fã dessa iniciativa da assessoria, acho que é muito interessante esse momento em que os nossos alunos dão esse salto. Realmente quero parabenizar a todos, porque a gente sabe como é difícil escrever, apresentar, participar, né, em outra língua que não seja a nossa língua nativa, e aí não é questão de ser inglês ou não, mas todas as dificuldades que nós temos para apresentar na nossa própria língua, elas se multiplicam quando a gente faz isso em uma língua que não é a nossa nativa. Então, acho que a primeira coisa que tem que fazer é parabenizar esses nossos alunos por fazerem esse momento acontecer. E agradeço demais o convite, já falei, sou fã, né? Acho que a iniciativa deve continuar, é uma coisa que a gente talvez possa pensar até em ampliar mais, em ter cursos de como escrever, de como participar, de fazer isso de uma forma mais efetiva. E espero, claro, que isso seja o pontapé inicial para os nossos alunos participarem de eventos internacionais, apresentando seus trabalhos aí fora, que, como a Andrea falou, é muito importante o processo de participação, e é importante para o crescimento intelectual também, é individual de cada um, essa participação em seminários internacionais. Obrigada, Ana.
Obrigado, professora, pelas suas palavras. Então, vamos iniciar nossa apresentação, tá certo? Como que nós temos 10 candidatos, né? A primeira candidata, Amanda Lóryn Gonçalves Moreira Falcão, está presente, tá certo? Ela é do campus do Relações Internacionais, categoria ODS, né? Tá certo? O trabalho que ela vai apresentar, ela é da Post-Pandemic Brazil and Education of Poverty, Social Programs and Universal Basic Income, under the kind supervision of Professor Tiago Alisson of the Center CCSA, tá certo? Então, Amanda, eu gostaria que você começar seu trabalho, tá certo? Você tem um máximo de 10 minutos, tá bom? Para apresentar seu trabalho. Pode começar.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Amanda, and I'm the first semester of the International Relations course. Thank you for being here. This morning, I'll talk about my and my partner's research, the post-pandemic Brazil on the eradication of poverty, social programs, and the universal basic income. Next slide, please. Próximo slide. This research discusses post-pandemic Brazil's panorama in its journey towards poverty suppression, the public policies used to reach this goal, as well as the positive signaling of the income transfer programs to the, until then, a utopic universal basic income. Next slide, please. For that, we go through the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development's first goal, which brings up the need to search for ways to eradicate poverty in all countries. In a post-pandemic scenario, Brazil, with its social assistance program, has been going on the oncoming of the increasing poverty seen in the whole planet as a consequence of COVID-19. Although the scenario is hard, in mid-April, the Auxílio Emergencial Emergency Aid program began, and lately with this success, it replaced the Family Aid Bolsa Família program and was named Brazil Aid, Auxílio Brasil, with the amount of 600 to 1,200 reais, which already reached more than 68 million people. Although there is a progressive reduction in the covering of this program, the results for the economy and its impacts on poverty's depletion are impressive. Literature shows that there's been an income improvement and reduction in poverty indexes. The benefit of income transfer programs such as Family Aid and Brazil Aid brings up the debate of whether the country should adhere to the universal basic income, which is a public policy somehow similar to the social programs aforementioned, but doesn't have a temporary character and does not substitute the job. About the methodology. This research of a descriptive character will discuss qualitatively Brazil in the pandemic context, the government reactions to the crisis and its effects related to the poverty index and gross domestic product, considering the data from Brazil's central bank about the down rate of 4.3%. Through the research in bibliographic information and EPA data, we see pertinent indexes of the social program Auxílio Brasil, Brazil Aid, implemented for the improvement of social protection and the reduction of inequalities. As we can see in this graphic that analyzes the formal jobs created per 1,000 families added to the social program, we can see on average for every 1,000 families, there's the creation of 364 formal jobs. This factor reveals the coexistence of social aids in the job market without necessarily affecting formal jobs, which intrigues specialists. Next slide, please. In the face of the analysis, we discussed the Brazilian scenario after the COVID-19 pandemic. With a high number of impacted people, the country's GDP had a downgrade proportional to the number of cases of the disease. As seen before, after the pandemic crisis with emergency aid help and the comeback of commercial activities, the economy reacted positively with income improvement and the reduction of poverty indexes. Besides that, for every 1,000 families, there's the creation of 364 formal jobs. With the income transfer program success, the second topic reaffirmed the possibility of the implementation of universal basic income, motivated by income inequality and poverty indexes in the country. The viability and the need for a universal basic income program, considering the excruciating data of inequality and poverty in Brazil, is real. As Freitas shows, the fight against poverty is one of the historical justifications for adhering to universal basic income in Brazil. Thus, a program like the above mentioned, properly formulated with special attention to the sources of funding choice, can contribute to poverty facing, the overcoming of flaws in the social protection system, income inequality reduction, and the improvement of the work situations, especially of the informal and the low-income ones, according to Amaral. Next slide. Okay, conclusion. In conclusion, Brazil is getting closer and closer to the possibility of implementing universal basic income to keep going firmly on the path of poverty eradication as the 2030 agenda ends. That brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Amanda, for your presentation of the work. Okay, now I'll pass to Professor Marlucine if she wants to say something regarding your work. Okay, Professor Marlucine, please. Você pode falar português, problema não. Nós estamos ouvindo.
Yes, I just must remember to turn on the mic. Okay, I want to congratulate you, Amanda. It's very well presented. And I'm very pleased to see you as maybe it's the first student I see in the international relations of UEMA. And it's very good to see you in this. I don't have anything to point out to the work, just as Ali pointed in the first place, just to congratulate you and your advisor for the theme. And it's very important to analyze these things after the pandemic and the context of poverty in Brazil. We see lots of different data showing different scenarios, but it's important to discuss this and how to say that, how to study Brazil in the direction of the ODS aims. Okay, thank you. Ok, parabéns, Amanda. Muito bem apresentado, muito. Acho que aqui não é nosso papel discutir exatamente o trabalho, mas mesmo assim eu quero parabenizar tanto você quanto a seu orientador, a sua orientadora, não percebi quem estava te orientando. E nessa direção, porque é um tema extremamente importante, especialmente agora nesse processo de recuperação, né, do Brasil pós-pandemia. Ou ainda na pandemia, mas uma pandemia menos, a gente sabendo lidar com ela, né? Ok. É isso.
Thank you very much, Professor Marluce. Vou passar a palavra para a professora André, por favor.
Thank you very much. Congratulations, Amanda. I would like to ask you about something about your research. How can you see the Brazilian scenario in this post-pandemic period according to the Sustainable Development Goals, especially the one you studied?
I think we are going to improve our scenario with social programs to help people who need to develop their situation. So I think the social programs are very important to continue to go through this goal. Okay. Do you understand? Like we need to keep going through the 2030 agenda. So social programs are very important to this. Thank you.
Muito bem. Agora eu gostaria de parabenizá-la, você, seu orientador, gostei muito, e também pela oportunidade. Um excelente trabalho, importante, estamos nessa aproximação cada vez maior na nossa instituição, e o seu trabalho enriquece muito esse contexto. Muito obrigada.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor André. So, I want to congratulate Amanda, Lóryn, for your presentation. You show very much confidence in your presentation. It's very good. We see a first candidate that is showing her confidence and her command on English. It's a very good things for us. So I want to congratulate your supervisor, Professor Thiago Allison. Tá certo? I want to congratulate him for his work, and especially preparing her student for the presentation here. Thank you very much for giving time to us. If you want to add something, if you have something in your mind, feel free, you can speak in here, okay?
No, thanks. Just want to say thank you for your congrats. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Now we are going to the second candidate. You can close your camera, okay? Thank you. Our segundo candidato é nossa Petunia Galvão Bezerra. Está presente?
Bom dia, sim.
Você pode compartilhar a tela conosco, por favor?
Certo, só um minutinho.
Tá. Next candidate is the Petunia Galvão Bezerra. Tá certo? She is the Faculty of Law of the State University of Maranhão. She's our student of Iniciação Científica, or undergraduate research program we have in Brazil, Iniciação Científica, né? She is a student of research. And her work, she's going to present her work on the city of São Luís, formation, history, and segregation, under the kind supervision of Professor Dr. Marco Antonio Martins da Cruz, of the Faculty of Law, of the Center of CCSA. Okay, so Petunia Galvão Bezerra, if I'm pronouncing it wrongly, you can correct me, okay? Petunia Galvão Bezerra, you have 10 minutes to present your work, okay? Now it's all to you. I'm passing to you, okay? You can start your presentation.
Som.
Petunia, nós não temos o seu áudio. Vê se você habilita aí.
Bom dia, vocês conseguem me ouvir agora?
Sim, estamos ouvindo.
Ok, eu vou recarregar então a minha apresentação, tudo bem?
Tudo bem.
Continua sem som.
Não conseguimos ouvir.
Petunia, tenta tirar o som, usar o som do teu computador, tirar o fone, ver se isso funciona. Porque a gente não está ouvindo o teu som. Então, se você falar direto com o computador, o som talvez funcione melhor.
Oi,
Ok?
ouvir agora?
Claro. Agora estamos.
Oh, muito obrigada, perdão. Eu vou compartilhar o meu slide novamente, então. Perdão. Vocês poderiam só me confirmar se vocês conseguem ver o meu slide, por favor? Sim? Ok, obrigada. Certo. Good morning, everyone. My name is Petunia. I am a law student at the UEMA. And today I'm gonna present a little bit of our work produced during the cycle of research by the supervisor of the Professor Marco Antônio Martins da Cruz. The title of our work is called City of São Luís, Formation, History, and Segregation. Here I show you a little bit of our work in our abstract. So I ask you for me to read a little bit. So this research report highlights the studies undertaken on the expansion process of the city of São Luís in relation to its effects on urban mobility. From the investigation carried out, we sought to clarify and understand with regard to the component aspects of the social production of urban space, the changes made to the structure of urban mobility. Considering, of course, the importance of providing best displacements with tools that provide conditions to achieve collective well-being into the performance of the function urban areas of the city. Going further, here is our background, which is the São Luís city, and we have a map. You can see all the name which is written on the map. So this map was produced from Macroplan, which is enterprise who produced this report to the City Hall. And on this map, we can see the average time that people who lives on São Luís City takes to make its displacements from home to work. So in its map, we can see green and red areas, where the red areas are the places, the neighborhoods where people who live there take way more time to make this displacement from work to home. And despite of people who live, for example, in neighborhoods where are concentrated on the coast of our city, where people who lives there take way less time to make this locomotion, this daily locomotion. So going for our methodology, we use the bibliographic research as books, as reports, as documentary materials, and also mobility statistics from Brazil and São Luís, and an application called Move It, where we utilize it for make simulation of trips around the city, consider some neighborhoods and some places of leisure, which we talk in advance. So in addition, we also made forms from Google Forms, which was applied virtually from take some results about the important questions related to urban mobility. So as our results, it was noticed that the construction of the urban fabric of the city of São Luís expansion took place in a sprawling way, has a directly effect on the conditions of the circulation from the city. So in this way, real urban voices were formed, as alluded to both writers that we use on the bibliographical research, which are Burnet and Ferreira, which conclusions of these authors, they say that this sprawling way of growing from the city cause certain distance from the locations, and also these neighborhoods where growth on the sprawling way end up being with a lack of the benefit of public service and facility, in opposite of other neighborhoods which had way more facilities and way more conditions to have better circulation for its inhabitants. So going further, we have the most popular leisure place for recreation and walks are concentrated in the historic center and near regions from as the beach strip, as the coast from the city, whose displacement is even more difficult for those who need, for example, use the public transport to get around and to arrive on these places of leisure. So as a result of our questionnaire, we had that 55% of the respondents were used the individual transport. So compared to the only 34 who use public transport way more. So considering that, we arrived to the consideration that is important to give attention of how the utilization of cars and individual vehicles, as for example motorcycles, it has a direct and indirect impact on the city, because the way of how the investments from circulation and urban mobility on the city are going to happen is really related to the numbers of individual vehicles that we have on the city. So this is a very important data that we arrived. So going further, regard to the question related to the facility, to if it's easy or not to make displacements on the city of São Luís, it was emphasized that a total of 73 of the answers indicate that exercise of getting around and moving around the city is not considered easy. Only 25% of the users say the opposite about it. So in continuous, at least once a week, 43% of the respondents of our research utilize the public transport. And for this reason, we also consider that it's very important to have attention to maintenance and the improvement of the public transport into daily displacement. So in conclusion, the interest of the agents that concentrated power and the capitalist logic directly and indirectly influenced the configuration of the city, as in other Brazilian metropolis, and Brazilian metropolis, causing repercussions both in the order of the urban fabric and the conditions of the mobility on the city. So nowadays, we see that the situation of the capital of Maranhão, there is a great intensity of circulation of motor vehicles, especially automobiles, favoring the individual displacement. And taking account the questionnaire, we also saw that a lot of the users that responded to it, they say that they prefer utilize the individual transport because they think that on the public transport there is a lack of security, the delay, the discomfort, and the low quality of the public transport which is offered, related to the fare, is not, it doesn't make a good option to use on the daily displacement. So with this, I end up my presentation, and I thank you everyone, especially my supervisor and everyone at the board, and I wish good presentations to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Petunia, for your presentation, presenting your work. Okay, I will pass to Professor Marlucy if she want to add some comments on your work.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Alan. And congratulations, Petunia, and for you on your advisor. Now I see who he is. I don't I didn't make the same error twice. So this is a theme that's very dear to me. And I have one question for you. You put in the title, the formation, the history, and segregation, and you focus in mobility and leisure, and especially in mobility for leisure, okay, to bring people opportunity for leisure in San Luis. And I wonder, why didn't you think about putting in the title this condition, this situation? Why don't we highlight that we are studying mobility and leisure in everything? That's the first question. And the second is, and the last years, 5 years, more or less, we see a lot of public spaces being revitalized and constructed in Brazil, in São Luís, in little neighborhoods, actually, like squares, parks, Rangedor, the other one is Itapiracó, and these things didn't appear in your research. They didn't see. And the third one is, what was your universe? Because I think that most of the people in São Luís don't have individual cars to play around the city. And that's a problem. That's why exactly we have to have a good public transportation system. Okay?
Okay, I will start with the first question. If I forget something, I will appreciate if you could remind me of the question, the 31. But to the beginning, yes, this is a very good question, and thank you for the congratulations. So our title is City of São Luís Formation, History, Segregation, because actually my work was a part of a bigger work, which is called urban mobility on the city of São Luís and quality of life. So this work was supposed to be made with other 3 students, but only my work plan was approved to win the scholarship from the scientific initiation. So I continue the work plan, but in the middle of the research, even that research engaged to the area of the urban mobility, seeing that an important place to study would be the leisure, but without getting really into the subject, because, for example, since here we have a summary, I can show you exactly the paths of our research, but our research actually focus on urban mobility to follow the bigger paper research, which was our research project, and I focuses on this part of history, formation, segregation, and end up that the part of leisure is just a very little part of this bigger work, and I brought it today because I wanted to bring a little bit of what parts our work end up seeing as conclusion of our research. Thank you. So the second one, I forgot.
Oh, don't mind. You already.
Remember. Sorry. Yes, it's a very important question too. I will be quickly about the thing related to, yes, majority of the people on Solis doesn't have individual transport, but this is an important thing that I should have said. I traded, but since the time I end up not saying, because our research was counting only 100 of users. So this is only a little bit of the population, of the big population of the city. So it really doesn't show up the real people what people utilize every day on displacements on the city. So in our report, we also end up focusing the attention to this question of why we need the attention and the maintenance of the public transport, because it's the ideal for a big city, and not to use cars, because this is totally what we shouldn't prefer. So it's really related to quality of life, and I would like to bring more data to it, but it's also on the big paper for us. And the 31,
about the squares and parks in city.
Oh, yes.
Besides
yes.
the city center and the beaches.
Yes, this one is also pretty good. We consider, but in our work, we choose some places as this Rangedo, it appears in our questionnaire, but we really didn't put the Itapiracó. And we saw that, yes, people really prefer to go to places of leisure as the squares near their houses, but consider the places where we have a big number of people who gathers around, we end up choosing the most popular places on the city, and we end up to this conclusion. So I don't know, it's a very big work. I would like to share more, but I think it's very relevant to your question, and I thank for it.
Thank you very much, Petunia. Você explicou muito bem as respostas. Professoras, quer comentar mais? Ou...
Não,
tá bom.
Para mim, tá ótimo. Ela respondeu muito bem as questões. Excelente, foram realmente questões provocativas em relação ao texto, e ela respondeu muito bem.
Tá, obrigado, professora. Eu vou passar para a professora André. Professora, você quer adicionar algum comentário?
No, I just want to congratulate Petunia and your supervisor, Dr. Marco Antonio. And I would like to suggest you to demonstrate clearly in the text your sample and target audience, because sometimes it's not so clear, but that's all. Thank you very much. Obrigada, gostei bastante.
Thank you very much, professora André. Eu acho que o professor Marco também está presente. Queria parabenizar ele, né, e a sua aluna, né, para a apresentação na sessão internacional, tá certo? Apresentar na língua estrangeira não é coisa fácil. Uma vez pesquisa já é difícil para apresentar, e segundo, apresentar na língua estrangeira ainda é a mais, tá certo? Gostaria de parabenizar todos os candidatos que estão apresentando, né, mas gostaria de parabenizar o professor Dr. Marco Antônio Martins da Cruz, que está presente, eu acho, e a sua aluna para a sua bela apresentação, tá bom? Meus parabéns para vocês, tá bom? Petunia, você quer falar alguma coisa no final, ou vamos para o terceiro candidato?
No, I would like to thank you, everyone in the board, all the professors, and wish a good presentation to everyone. Thank you for the Professor Marlucy. I really love the question, and I'm glad that you have such a caring for this team. I love this team. I would like to thank again my supervisor, who is an awesome supervisor, which make me love even more the scientific initiation, which is very important to all the students. Thank you, the Professor Andrea, for the suggestion. I think it's very important, and I really appreciate. I will take more care on the next presentation. And thank you for the Professor Alamir. I don't know if I pronounce it right. And I wish
No
you
problem.
all good presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay. Ok, thank you very much, Petunia, para suas palavras. Bom, tá bom, vamos passar para o terceiro candidato. Exxon, a Maria Paula Correia está presente ou não? Você pode verificar? Exxon.
Professor, parece-me que ela não
Good
está
morning.
aqui. A menos que ela esteja com outra inicial.
Parece que
Está?
está aqui.
Pronto.
Yes, I
Tá,
am.
tá. Tá ok. A Maria Paula está presente, né? Tá certo, tá. Now going to our next candidate who is going to present her work. Okay, name is Maria Paula Correia Ramos. She's also belongs to the Faculty of Law of the campus of the State University of Maranhão, campus São Luís. She's the undergraduate. She's an undergraduate student working on the iniciação científica que a gente chama aqui, tá certo? Her work, she's going to present her work on a bridge between worlds, the social effects on the construction of the bridge over the Peruncuma River in the Quilombola communities of Bequimão, Maranhão, under the kind supervision of Professora Doutora Marivânia Leonor Sousa Furtado of the Faculty of Ciências Sociais, of Social Sciences Faculty, que é CSSA. Querida Maria Paula, você tem 10 minutos para fazer a sua apresentação, tá certo? Você pode começar, iniciar a sua apresentação.
Okay. Everybody can see the screen and hear me?
No, it's not your work that's in the screen.
Você está fazendo a apresentação, mas você não está apresentando o slide. Por favor, coloque o slide.
Dá para ver o slide?
No.
Você minimiza essa tela que está aqui no computador e vai por seu slide aí. Apresentação. Minimiza.
Você escolheu a opção compartilhar a sua tela. Nós estamos vendo a sua tela, então você tem que ir até onde o seu slide está aberto.
Você tem que escolher a opção janela e escolher a janela que tá onde está o seu trabalho.
Foi?
Isso. Aí, já foi. Agora bota em modo de apresentação.
Thank you. Good morning. My name
Você
is
ainda, você ainda tem, Maria Paula, que colocar no modo apresentação no PowerPoint para que você possa ter mais fluidez.
Para mim está no modo apresentação, foi aí?
Não. Chega na tua janela de PowerPoint e coloca lá no PowerPoint, naquele modo de apresentação do PowerPoint. E isso, aí.
Okay.
Clica em cima, com vontade.
Nossa, faz tempo que eu não faço isso. Então. Okay. Good morning. My name is Maria Paula. I'm a researcher from LIDA. Struggles. I'm nervous. So, good morning. My name is Maria Paula. I'm a law student, and my research supervisor is Professor Marivânia Furtado. The title of my work is A Bridge Between Worlds, the social effects of the construction of the bridge over the Peruncuma River in the Quilombola communities of Bequimão. First, I'll show you a location map. The yellow point is the location of the bridge, and the red ones are the location of the three communities, Black communities. The Central Bequimão Bridge was completed in April 2022, although the service order was assigned in September 2016, and the bridge cuts through quilombolas territories of the Ramal de Quindiua, Santa Rita, and Mafra. The bridge, it's a complex bridge road, prioritizes a concept of development that is opposed to the perspective of well-living of the traditional communities. One of the main questions of this research is why does development not bring benefits to the surrounding quilombola communities? The government said that the bridge would bring improvements to tourism, mobility, economy, because it would connect the West Coast with Baixada, and therefore the capital. But instead, the lack
Maria
of
Paula,
information...
desculpe por atrapalhar. Vocês estão vendo a
Não,
continuidade dos
eu
slides?
queria interromper também, mas como é tão
Então, Maria
difícil,
Paula, eu
né?
tenho uma sugestão. Eu tenho os teus slides aqui, você não está conseguindo levar para o modo apresentação. Eu transmito os teus slides daqui. A gente pode testar assim?
É porque eu dei uma atualizada neles, então eu estava crente que
Então
eu
faz o
conseguia.
seguinte.
Então,
Então
você
faz o seguinte, sai dessa
Oi.
tua apresentação, coloca a janela no modo apresentação logo e depois faz o compartilhamento com a gente. Porque está prejudicando, porque a gente só está vendo um slide. Porque não está no modo apresentação.
Ok.
Agora, coloca o teu PowerPoint no modo apresentação, aquele que você vai clicando e vai trocando.
Um segundo. Eu vou compartilhar de novo.
Agora compartilha já com a tela no modo apresentação, que aí vai dar certo. Vai compartilhar a janela, aquela que está aparecendo o teu PowerPoint no teu computador.
Já no modo apresentação.
Já no modo apresentação. Que aí vai dar certo.
Mas é porque aí eu não vou conseguir. Vocês estão vendo passar o slide?
Não. Tu vai ter que passar assim do jeito que tu está passando ali na lateral, então, porque a gente está vendo o PowerPoint inteiro.
Está passando os slides.
Tá? Se você for fazer assim como você está fazendo, sim, pode ser.
Ok. Deixa eu tentar dar uma diminuída aqui. Melhorou, pelo menos?
Tu não vai conseguir passar assim, porque tu tem que olhar o slide lá para poder passar.
Pois é. Ai, senhor. Que isso. Eu não sei se é porque eu estou no Teams Web, né? Então...
Deve ser. Você da assessoria, não tem como receber esse material dela e passar?
É o que eu ia sugerir. Se você conseguir me mandar agora pelo WhatsApp, em 30 segundos eu abro aqui rapidinho.
Pois é.
Eu acho que a professora deixa ela apresentar, senão vai demorando, atrasando o outro.
Querido, mas, né? Mas tudo bem.
É.
Sou eu que não estou deixando.
Espera aí, se vocês quiserem, eu vou dar um jeito de baixar o WhatsApp Web enquanto a próxima pessoa apresenta.
É por isso que eu não comentei no meio, deixei ele a passar, senão aí uma atrasando o outro.
Porque atrapalha, mas faz isso que ela está falando, ela faz isso, apresenta o outro, depois ela volta, que aí ela fica mais calma, tranquila e apresenta o outro com mais tranquilidade.
Eu até tento passar em PDF para ver, crio aqui algumas possibilidades. E envio também para a assessoria o atualizado, enfim. Que aí tem mais tempo e não atrapalha o decorrer do que já foi marcado, né? Ok?
Ok, então, como acharem melhor. Estou pronto para reproduzir daqui.
Alan, tu vai chamar o próximo, não?
Chamar outro? Eu pensei que ela vai apresentar.
Ela vai apresentar, mas como ela está fazendo, por que tu não bota o outro e enquanto ela acerta e a gente não atrasa ninguém?
Entendi. Então.
Pode
Jonas
ser?
Vinicius, pode ser. Jonas Vinicius Albuquerque está presente? Bom dia. Jonas, está presente? Eu achava que ele estava presente aqui.
Eu estou vendo ele.
Pois é, não sei se é o áudio dele que está comprometido. Você nos ouve, Jonas?
Jonas, você consegue começar a sua apresentação?
Tenta de novo
Agora dá de me ouvir?
aquele truque. Agora sim. Beleza.
Ah,
Estamos
sim.
ouvindo você.
Desligado aqui. Eu mandei a minha apresentação bem no grupo da Sessão Internacional para abrirem para mim, porque eu também estou no Meet Web. Se a pessoa que estiver lá no grupo puder abrir, por favor.
Só um segundo, eu vou abrir aqui e projetar.
Tá certo.
Você pode projetar. Tá. So let's pass to the other candidate, which is Jonas Vinicius. We have some technical problems with the other candidate. So Jonas Vinicius, are you ready to present your work? Okay.
Yes, I'm just gonna plug my notebook on the charger.
Okay.
And I'm starting.
So Jonas Vinicius Albuquerque da Silva Santos. He belongs to the faculty of letras. We call it letras in here of the campus Caxias. Okay. He is the student of undergraduate student of the scientific initiation. And he is going to present his work with the title Between Facts. Qual é o significado de fatos e camisolas?
It's
palavra em
because
inglês ou português?
since let me explain. This is a cool fact. Since my work is based on Portuguese, some things like I can't translate it because it will lose its meaning.
Okay.
If I put in a way.
Ok. Ficou equívoco para mim. Desculpa, perdão, foi erro meu. Então, so it's between fatos and camisolas, né, the clothes in Portuguese language literatures, under the kind supervision of Professor Emanuel César Pérez de Assis, tá certo? Mr. Jonas Vinicius Albuquerque, you have 10 minutes maximum to present your work, okay? So it's up to you now.
Okay, thank you. So good morning, everyone. My name is Professor already said is Jonas, and this research is supervised by Professor Emanuel César Pires de Assis. Can you pass the slide, please? Oh my God, it isn't passing here. Can you just?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. The rise of technology makes the research in literature more vast, having as one of its marks the emergence of computational tools. In this way, programs such as ACDC that made the corpus Literateca searchable were created, making it possible to overcome the barrier of complete reading a book. Since the horizon of technology, a lot of things had been more affected by it. And one of these things were literature. And when we're talking about literature, we are talking about reading literature and researching in literature. And one of the facts that we do is searching in literature. One of the options that were created with the origin of technology was the possibility of searching an entire corpus, which are a lot of works. I put in a hard way were a lot of literature works in just one corpus, and one of these corpus is Literateca. Literateca is a searchable corpus of a lot of works in Portuguese language that we can search as much as we want in a different aspect. And one of these aspects that we did was fashion during the 19th century in Portuguese literature. Since in the background we put the Lusophony during the 19th century, since the Portuguese emperor were made by Brazil and Portugal in the the center of it, since we have production of written production of literature in Brazil and Portugal during the 19th century, Lusófone is consisted just by choose these two countries, and fashion in the 19th century was also something that changed a lot, since we had a lot of changes. Like in Brazil, we have the independence of Brazil, we have the coming of the royal family from Portugal to Brazil, we have the declamation of republic from Brazil, and a lot of changes that impact directly in the directive way in literature, in society, and all other stuff. And also the 19th century, where when the revolutionary industrial were made, and with this, we clothes stopped to being built for just one person and started being made for a lot of person, and a lot of other things, like the downfall of aristocracy and the ascension of bourgeoisie, and these things were very important to the society in general. And another thing is the distant reading, which is the way we call not completely reading a book to get to a result. So in literature, we can analyze a book by reading the book itself from the beginning to end, and the distant reading makes us possible to not read the book completely, but we can read a lot of books in just one time, like we did in this research. You can pass for me, please. Okay. Methodology. Based on the concepts of Franco Moretti, 2013, which is the concept of distant reading, about what the author defines as distant reading, we divide the work in different phases. Initially, we did a survey on which terms are connection clothing in Literateca Corpus, and the in the parentheses. Okay. Can you pass for me, please? Oh my God, I sent the wrong one, but it's not a problem. Okay. The Literateca is a site we have a lot of tools, and one of these tools is ACDC. ACDC means access to data, I'm translating right now. Access, acesso a corpus, definição de corpus. Seria em português, in Portuguese would be something like that. And in this corpus, we can search a lot of things, like in these results, we put it here. We can looking at the data, it is possible that the most historic piece of clothing for men is shirt with 1770 cases. Since for men, we have a lot of cases when the shirt is the most used piece of cloth. And an analysis of the result is almost never distributed, and shows that attention seated with a quick special or keyword complement is not seen as a determining fact of the character's personality. In these results, we can see that clothes for men are not an important aspect of their personality, because since the ascension of the bourgeoisie, men were not just care about clothes like they did in the aristocracy. In aristocracy, clothes were very important for men. Men usually even dress in a like female way to get more attention. But in the bourgeoisie, they started to get more neutral about their clothes. Usually people wear black, men usually wear black or only a suit, and with not a lot of jewelry or stuff, because what it was important about a man was his personality, his ethic, his morality, and this shows in the same way in literature. Like when we are talking about shirt, we were never saying like it was a beautiful shirt with black coats and stuff like that. It was just shirt when it was extremely necessary to sit it. When it wasn't even seated at all. Can you pass for me, please? This feminine can be seen as a way of the authors to follow the ideas that were spreading across Europe, in that gained space across the globe, including in Brazilian lands. Since these kind of things, like the revolution and the industrial revolution, started in France and in the UK, we can see that it spread from across the globe. It comes from Portugal and then Brazil, replicated, and this which is show the results. And dress is another thing that the women dress more, is more seated, and when seated, it is almost accompanied with adjectives. and we are saying like it has a beautiful dress, it's a beautiful dress, very elegant dress. I had some cases, but I deleted when I sent the wrong one. But we have like beautiful dress, like it is a black dress with I don't know, they put a lot of details when you're coming about women clothes. Can you pass for me, please? In conclusion, when we observe these two literature as one, without ignoring their difference, following the ideas of Moretti, we relate it with fashion and technology. What we trace as M guide us with that of what we related to research that helps us to understand clothes during the 19th century and their influence in different social, cultural, and political aspects. Since we are talking about the clothes, we have a lot of ways that we can go. Like I can research the different of genders. I can research the different of social class. I can research about the difference in Brazil and Portugal, since are different countries with different kinds of weather and other stuff. But what we trace as aims help us guide through the entire phase of getting what we wanted. And that's my presentation's already ended, and that's it. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Jonas. Vinicius, for your presentation. Now we are going to next step. I'll pass my word to Professor Amal Lucine. She want to add some comments.
Yes, congratulations, Jonas. It's a very interesting work. I had fun reading the your paper, and the fatos and camisolas that I didn't realize that they using these terms in Brazil as well, because they use it even today in Portugal, fatos for suits and camisolas for shirts. It's not true. That's yeah, but it's like a t-shirt is a camisola. It's not, but in that time in 19, it was like the shirt itself. Okay, it is.
Okay. No, in like these words were selected so we can understand that there's difference in meanings in clothes from Portugal to Brazil.
And
Like in
Brazil.
Brazil, for
So I
camisolas, we
didn't
use it.
realize it in your. I didn't realize that you are doing this also. That you are looking like fato interno, or meaning suits in Brazil or in Portugal. Yeah, it's very interesting. And the other thing that's interesting is the concept of distant reading. I didn't. How do you do that? In a lot of books, you put the books in how do you do that? I was very curious about.
The distant reading is did by the tool that I presented, the ACDC. There we have a corpus, which a corpus is composed by a lot of books, which are digital books, and we
Okay.
put in the corpus, and then when you put it there, we can search with like we did in Google. We have a blank space in the search, and we put like a configuration there. It's not very very simple, but it's not hard. But we put it there. When we search, then we get what we wanted.
But you
Something like
don't
that.
choose the books. You don't choose the books.
No,
The
I
books
don't
are
choose
right
it.
there.
Yes, it's right there. Usually books, when we are talking about these, are books from the 19th century, from Brazil and Portugal, which are the books that are there. Usually the corpus is fitted by a researcher in Oslo, which is Professor Diana. He's the responsible one from the system. So she has like a relation with my supervisor because he did his PhD in Oslo. So
Okay.
when we search here as well, this with these two.
Okay. Very well. Thank you for your explanations and for your work. Congratulations for you and your advisor as well.
Thank you very much, Jonas, for your presentation. Now we'll go to Professor Andrea, if she want to add some comments about.
Hello,
Professor.
Jonas, and I would like to congratulate you and your supervisor too. It's a very interesting theme. It's a very interesting research. And as we know, we have different areas here. Sometimes I was a little bit lost because uh, some details about your methodology is not so clear for me. But now I think you can answer and show us the answers better when you speak. So I just suggest you for the next presentation that we can make something like a draw or something to show more pictures, because we can see a little bit more easier the idea and the methodology of your research. But thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Professor Andrea. I want to congratulate Jonas, who make his presentation about the work between fatos and camisolas, the clothes in Portuguese language literatures. I want to congratulate his supervisor, Professor Emmanuel Cesar Pires de Assis, for his work in presenting his work in the second language, English, in here in the Sessão Internacional. Thank you very much. If you want to add some comments in the last, you can add in here. Feel free, and you can say anything you want.
I just want to thank you, all of you who read my work and tried to understand what I was saying in English, because I was very nervous and talk very fast. I talk like this in Portuguese as well. So I hope you don't mind. And then I would like to thank my colleagues who are here, especially my friends, Saulo and Luana, who are here to see me. And Saulo is going to present next in the last one. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Jonas. So now we are going to the other candidate. Professor André, você vai sair ou vai continuar? Fiquei sabendo se tinha algum compromisso.
Eu vou continuar conseguir
tá certo,
me manejar.
Então. Tá certo, obrigado, professora, pela sua presença, tá? Vamos para o próximo candidato. Acho que a Petunia vai apresentar.
A Maria Paula está pronta. O técnico da assessoria falou. A que foi que pulou, né?
Tá certo. Então vamos continuar. Aquela que pulou, né?
Isso. Se você puder botar ela agora, né? Que aí a gente já vai para o final tranquilo.
Maria Paula, tá pronta agora?
Linda.
Eu acho que sim. Vocês vão...
Já passou, né? Já passou, né?
Já foi, Maria Paula. Tá
agora tá sentindo melhor.
Tecnologia.
Então, vamos lá. So our candidate which was broke up, né? In the last time due to some technical problems of her presentation, she will continue in here. Maria Paula Correia Ramos, she's the student of the Faculty of Law of our campus São Luís of the State University of Maranhão. She's the scholar of the Iniciação Científica undergraduate scholars we have, and she's going to present her work, A Bridge Between Worlds, the social effects of the construction of the bridge over the Pericuma River in the Quilombola communities of Bequimão, Maranhão. She's under the kind supervision of Professora Doutora Mariwana Leonor Souza Furtado of the Department of Sciences of the Social Sciences of the Center CCSA. Okay, so Miss Maria Paula Correia, you have 10 minutes to present your work, maximum of 10 minutes. Okay, it's all to you now.
Good morning. My name is Maria Paula. I'm a law student and a member of LIDA. The name of the GPAX is Social Struggles, Equality and Diversity, and the professor is the Professor Mariwana Furtado. Next slide, please. Well, the first thing I want to show you is the location map. And we can see the yellow point because it's the location of the bridge, and the red ones are the location of the communities. The Central Bequimão Bridge was completed in April 2022, but although the service order was assigned in September 2016, the bridge cuts through the Quilombolas territories of Ramaldiquindiua, Santa Rita, and Mafra. The complex bridge road prioritizes a concept of development that is opposed to the perspective of well-living, or buen vivir, of traditional communities. Next. One of the main questions this research asks is why does development not bring benefit to the surrounding Quilombola communities? The government said that the bridge would bring improvements to some areas like tourism, mobility, economy, because it would connect to some locations of the map of the Maranhão. Areas like West Coast to Baixada, and therefore the capital. Instead, we have some communities which suffers for uncertainties and insecurities. And to answer, this study focused on the identification of social and territorial effects of the construction on the Black rural communities of Ramal de Quindiua, Santa Rita, and Mafra. Next. The approach involves normative research, journal articles, government data, and the fieldwork information gathered from 2021 to 22, and the photography records. The theoretical premise is supported by the decolonial perspective in order to comprehend the specific territoriality, identify the strategies of resistance, and the well-living of the Quilombos. Besides, reflexive sociology allows rethinking the structures of power in public relations. The territory of Ramal de Quindiua brings together the communities of Mafra and Santa Rita. But a priori, there were small communities in the region, such like São Joaquim, São Sebastião, Jucurutu, and the Carará, where Guilhermina Morim, a former slaver, settled. Guilhermina arrived on foot from Alcântara, and she was the common ancestor of many members of the community. The residents worked at Engenho do Baiano in a regime equivalent to slavery called trocadia, and many residents remained in the region after collapses. Only in 1970, other families migrated to a rough road that would link Central do Maranhão to Beckman. The construction invaded the Quilombola territories, causing socio-environmental impacts such as removed all vegetation around the road, and which was not complete until August, my last visit, destroyed the mangrove, removed stones and sand from within the territories, creating an erosive process in the region. Next. The Land Institute of Maranhão, ITERMA, is responsible for land regularization, but the resource it had was relocated by the public administration, favoring the length of the process. Since 2010, Ramal de Quindiua has been certified by the Palmares Cultural Foundation, but even so, the Territorial Association Ramal de Quindiua, Mafra and Santa Rita reported that the owner of the company acquired an area within the territory and started its deforestation, affecting the space of coconut forest preserved by the community, demolishing houses, and affecting several backyards, which was used by common use. No? The picture shows that beyond the direct resistance expressed by the judicialization of the demand, there is the symbolic resistance. For example, by the contrast existing in the construction of a pier with canoes attached and fishing nets hanging under the construction. Next. A compensatory agreement was established with the company without any government intervention. Ramal de Quindiua could build a well, Santa Rita, and association, and while Mafra is under negotiation, but probably they will build a well too, because the extraction of sand leave them without drinking water. Well, one of the contradictions we can point is the acquisition of 22 hectares of land regularized by ITERMA for the benefit of one resident, and support by the authorities of the possibility of maintaining double rights over the same territories, one collective and other private. The opening consists in the registration of lands in the system by different nicknames, such as Carará, and not as Ramal de Quindiwa, a certified quilombola community whose collective landing title is being processed. At the conclusion, we can observe that there are several damages that affect communities that must be supported in the name of progress, in the name of benefits, and are declared by the dominant logic, which probably won't work on such communities. This research indicates the length of the land regularization process and whether there are necessary financial resources for this, for completed. And the resilience of these Black communities is phrased. Next. And in the end, I show you the new view of Pericumã River and some words from a resident of the community, São Francisco. He said that it's a bridge that connects life. If it weren't for bridge, we would still be asleep. Bridge is not just concrete, cement, stones. That was bridge is, the connection of ancestors, descendants, generations. Next. And that is some of my reference. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Maria Paula Correia Ramos, for your presentation. Now I will go to Professor Marluce to add some comments about your work. Professor Marluce, please. Your microphone, please.
Yes, my microphone is off. Okay, congratulations, Maria Paula. It's an excellent work, actually. And I'm sorry for bringing you some tension for some minutes ago, but I think that was worth it because we could see all the work you did, all the presentation fully completed and discussed. And you presented it very well. So, and well, I don't have any questions specifically, but if you could explain how the community, I think that the last sentence you brought, the words of Francisco, where the sentiment of the people there, they actually appreciate the bridge, they didn't appreciate the process that brings so much problems for the land. Is that true? And how they receive the bridge at all?
Well, the bridge was is like something that happened and make the people to get unite, you know. So just like the younger people learn from the older, many of them was arrested before, so they have so much to share. And with the bridge, the construction, the intervention of on the territory, the younger could learn and get all the things together, inclusive on a administrative way, because the community was invisible until then. They are nothing. They were not seen. They were not heard. And after the intervention, they put themselves together, put themselves alive, and with under the one name, one people.
That's it. Congratulations.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Marluce. I will go to Professor Andrea if she wants to add some comments about the work. Please, Professor Andrea.
Okay, thank you. Congratulations, Maria Paula, and your supervisor, Dr. Marivânia Furtado. I'd like just to ask you some curiosities about your research. It's a very important one. And I have some questions. How did you find the name of registration of the land? How did you find the correct name of the registration of the land? Because as you said in your results, it was a different one, isn't it? Could you explain?
Okay. In the government data, some of them register the land, the 22 hectares, under one name, so we can see on the sites, and most of the information are gathered through the interview with the old people and the younger.
Eu acho que agora todas as que estavam, que eu já tinha mandado antes.
Acho que alguém está falando no meio.
Tá com o microfone aberto.
And the second question, Maria, is about how can you think we can solve this kind of illegal strategy? Because I think someone did something not legal. That's why the name is not the correct one, isn't it? So how can we solve by law this kind of strategy?
Yeah.
Do you have some opinion about this?
Yes. In the law, we have some kind of restitution of property, including the association. After they put themselves together, they come through, how can I say, vara agrária. I don't know if have some kind of these on the United States and other countries, but when they call to them and put themselves together in the law way, they can share this kind of reconstitution of the land. So first they come to a cartório. So they can, after that, they can put an end to the sold of the land for people inside. And after they put the end of this problem situations, they come to the justice to claim for the restitution of the land. So the things stop it for now.
Okay, and the last one is just to suggest you to include below each picture the subtitle of the picture. Okay, don't forget to include this information in your future presentations, the subtitle of the pictures. Okay? Thank you very much. Congratulations again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Andrea. Now, I want to congratulate Maria Paula Correia and Professora Doutora Marivânia Leonard Souza Furtada of the Faculty of Ciências Sociais, Social Sciences, okay, for presenting her work. Okay, thank you very much. And it's not easy to present work in the second language, English, especially the research work, but it's a very hard working, and we know you are very much confident in your work we're presenting in here. Okay, thank you very much. Now, if you want to add some comments in the last, feel free, you can add comments in here.
I'm good. Thank you.
If you want to say something.
Just thank you everyone for this space. It's really good to share and remember something that we don't see on the course anymore. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So now we are going to the next candidate, who is Raquel Miranda dos Santos. Sinal ela está presente?
Ok. Tá sim.
Professora Marlúcia, desculpa aí. Agora que eu vi. Tá, Raquel Miranda dos Santos, né? A nossa da faculdade, Faculty
Eu
of
fui agradavelmente surpreendida por estar nessa sessão com ela. Eu sabia que ela ia apresentar, mas não sabia que eu ia estar aqui. Então, vocês vão desculpar, eu estou muito orgulhosa de Raquel, vou ficar caladinha aqui nos comentários. e deixar vocês avaliarem, tá ok?
Raquel Miranda dos Santos, she's belong to the course of Architecture and Urbanism. She's undergraduate student in here at the State University of Maranhão, campus São Luís. She's the scholar of the undergraduate scholar of the Iniciação Científica, which is a program, Brazilian program we have here. And she's going to present her work, dialoguing with the Alexander and Leafy Baby. Sorry for my pronunciation. Where to go? Okay, in here. Dialoguing with Alexander and Leafbewer, identifying patterns adopted in the socio-spatial trajectory of the residential spaces under the kind supervision of the Professora Doutora Maluci de Carvalho Vanâncio, que está presente aqui conosco, tá certo? Raquel Miranda, você tem 10 minutos máximo para apresentar seu trabalho, tá certo? O tempo todo seu. Você pode apresentar, fica à vontade, fica tranquilo.
Ok, só para ter certeza, vocês estão vendo a minha apresentação? Vocês estão ouvindo a minha voz direitinho? As I said, good morning, my name is Raquel Miranda, and I'm the student responsible for the work plan entitled The Development House, the Social Spatial Trajectory of Housing Spaces in São Luís, which is tied to the project that you can see in the screen. I was oriented by the Professor Dr. Malu. The general objective of my branch of research is to identify the patterns that are revealed in the transformation in housing development. As a first step to form a theoretical background, my research, I studied the works of Christopher Alexander. He was an architect and a urbanist who dedicated his studies to the human behavior and the constructed space and to the creation of a new design method. And from his years of study, the pattern language, his main theory was created. And this theory claims there are patterns that can be identified in the use of construction to give life to places. The books I used to understand Alexander's theory were The Timeless Way of Building from 1979 and A Pattern Language from 1977. And in this collection, he and his teammates describes in different levels towns, buildings, and construction, a collection of patterns in a problem solution scheme. In other words, they present a problem that occurs several times and its possible solution, which can be used in a million different ways and not in the same way every time. Following the line of reasoning of the theory, patterns contain other patterns. So studying the house as another element, it's necessary to understand the relationship between the houses, the structure of a neighborhood, and the formation of a city. As you can see in the image on the right, this is a typical scheme of these patterns in the book. He draws a solution which can be used in the time of construction. I also studied the formation of the house developments in São Luís, and in a summary, I came up with the following timeline. First, the federal government in the 60s and the 80s, at the time of the military regime, decides to implement large projects in Maranhão, such as Alumar, Vale do Rio Doce, and the Itaqui port. The industrialization of the capital attracts the rural population in search of jobs, so the capital was a demographic boom in the 70s and the 80s. These people didn't have access to the real estate market, so the city is included in the national housing efforts with resources from the B&H, National Housing Bank. So several housing developments are built in the city. The city expanded beyond the limits of the old center, so São Luís became a central city to the other cities in the island. And the main housing development chosen to this research was Parque Vitória, and this neighborhood is part of a city that functions in a way that we would call dormitory city. In other words, people live in the neighborhood, but they do their main activities in the central city. In my methodology, as I said, I studied the works of Alexander and the bibliography about São Luís housing developments. And the second moment, I was focused in choosing the development, which was Parque Vitória. And I mapped the housing development, located the original floor plans from the house, chose Parque Vitória, and through surveys and interviews with the inhabitants, I was able to do a photographic cataloging of the housing units and the changes in the neighborhood. At last, I did the data systematization, aiming to characterize the convergences between Alexander's work and the reality of Pakistan. With data from the São Luís City Institute, I was capable of determining which ones of the city's neighborhoods originated from the house development. And after this search, the development I chose was Parque Vitória. And according to data from the Cities Institute, Parque Vitória was established in the 80s. There wasn't much more material about the place in the internet on the bibliography. In order to better my analysis, I made a use and occupation map and a mobility map of the neighborhood. And from these maps, I was able to confirm some characteristics. The main streets of the neighborhood are Rua 1 and Rua 4000, where the commercial area is placed. And the neighborhood is well served by buses, and the main use of the place is residential. This confirms in part my hypothesis of a dormitory neighborhood. However, what has been observed over the years is a tendency for change with the expansion of the commercial area of the neighborhood and the addition of a new public school. To understand the origins of Parque Vitória, I had to make several interviews with the first inhabitants of the place. Gathering their statements, I was able to determine some key points, the origin of the neighborhood. The housing development was financed by the Caixa Econômica Federal, the Federal Savings Bank, in an area donated to the federal government. The first residences embryos with approximately 20.16 square meters and 2 rooms. A room that would function as a living room slash dining room slash bedroom with the wall separating it from the kitchen and a bathroom. The original house units were built in a semi-detached house in Portuguese, Casa Germinada, with the next lot. Looking at examples at the image, you can see they were deteriorated because the neighborhood was established in the 80s, so the houses have much more than 30 years of existence. It's difficult to find the original plot plans in the neighborhood. So the ones we can find are pretty abandoned. The expansion of these houses happened with the succession of fillings of the lateral and frontal setbacks that already exist in the conception of the original lot. To simplify, I divided this expansion in 3 ways. The first phase would be the lateral filling, because these houses came with only 2 rooms. People needed a bedroom, needed another room to live better in family. So this new room would be used as a bedroom by the family. And in this stage, we can recognize pretty well the contours of the original plan. The second phase was frontal filling, which means bringing the facade to the edge of the street, and the change of materials in addition of other materials such as railings, iron, aluminum gates, different painting, and tile covering. This is the phase that is most common. And the third phase would be the vertical expansion, because the first floor is already all filled, and the logical step is to build above. And in the same way as the previous one, we have a change of materials. Moreover, it is in this phase that the original limits of the embryo become recognizable. Another way of expansion was some inhabitants, they bought not only a lot, but they expanded purchasing other lots to increase the terrain, and this use is much in institutional commercial use. With this information and the bibliographic work, I was capable of making a cross-check between Alexander's work and my work. And I gathered about 16 patterns that are presented in the neighborhood. And I will bring to you some examples, but I can't bring them all because I will be talking here for an hour. But you can read them all in my paper. The first example I brought to you is called activity pockets. And as Alexander says, surround public gatherings places, pockets of activity, small paddling areas at the edges, which should forge into the open space between the paths, and activities which make it natural for people to pause and get involved. Alexander says to us that the square has to have activity pockets around it. So So people passing by the square want to stay there. And the second pattern I brought to you is the pattern number called left outside walls. And Alexander said, the main function of a building's outside wall is to keep weather out. It can only do this if the materials are joined in such a way that they cooperate to make impervious joints. At the same time, the wall must be easy to maintain and give the people outside the change to relating to it. In a way, the strategy made by the team of a pattern language is already used in São Luís do Maranhão because of the Portuguese colonization. The capital of Maranhão, the tiles were used to combat the tropical climate-centered research. And in the newer neighborhoods, it is still used, but in much more modern design, but with the same objectives. In conclusion, I concluded that the pattern language is still relevant despite being developed in the 70s in a completely different reality than ours. And we still can use it to better our neighborhoods and our reality here in São Paulo. These are my references, and thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Raquel Miranda, for your presentation. Okay, so I will pass to Professor Malnus if she want to comment about work.
Just to thank Raquel, just to thank her because I'm very proud of his work, and it was very good to work with her this year in the project. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
Professor Andrea, please.
Okay. Congratulations, Raquel Santos and the supervisor, Dr. Marlucio Wall. And it's very interesting. And I don't understand so much about this kind of studies, but it's very interesting, of course. And I would like to ask you about how can you associate these residential spaces in São Luís, Maranhão, and the history development. Could you intend to prepare or to develop something like models of this kind of scenarios? Do you have this kind of interest? Is one of my questions. Because as I see, we have different special residential spaces according to the history, according to the centuries. So can you develop this some kind of scenario or model to future studies or not? Is it possible?
Yes. In Alexander's research, his objective was to make a new method of design cities, and he made this method in different levels. He was capable of making recommendations for towns, cities, and even the process of construction, the materials we would use to construct these houses, to construct the city. And his objective was this, make this model so we can use it. We as architects would interpret with our own understanding, and we would expand the language. And as an architecture student, I plan to using his recommendations to better my projects, and I plan to use his bibliography to my TCC. I don't know how to talk in English. In a proposal to better my neighborhood, because the neighborhood we choose was because I lived there since I was little, and it's the neighborhood I've been studying since I entered the university. And my plan is to work with this theory and make it a reality. Yeah.
So as I see, your main goal is to identify the model described by the author you cited, is it? So you identify the different language and spaces, residential spaces, according to the model he developed.
Yes.
Is it?
As I said, the patterns are presented in a problem solution scheme. He shows a problem that occurs in our society and the possible solution. I forgot to state, but the criteria I used to make the convergence between the neighborhood and the work was the solution. I only presented solutions that I gathered in the neighborhood, but the pathologies, the problems I found in lots. Most of the problems there are in my neighborhood. So the criteria was the solution, but I can bring more solution to my neighborhood. That's my objective.
Okay, just another suggestion. When you have more than one picture in the same drawing, something like that, I think you can use A, B to in the subtitle, because it's better for us to understand the description. Okay? But I'm very happy and interested about the future of your studies. Marluce, you can comment, because I'm not from this area, but I love history too, and I like this kind of relation. Thank you and congratulations again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Andrea. Professor Marluce, você quer adicionar algum comentário?
Thank you for allowing me to say something. And yes, the only thing is congratulate you, Raquel, and thank you all for this opportunity. That's good.
Yeah, thank you very much. Raquel Miranda dos Santos, você quer adicionar alguma coisa aí no final?
I would just like to thank you all for the opportunity, because it's a singular thing we do here at UEMA to let the students present in another language. I think it's a great initiative. And I would like to thank Professor Marluce, all the advice, all the orientation. Without her, I wouldn't be able to make my work. Thank you all.
Of course not. Of course not. You all do it, all the hard work. I just get the congratulations after. That's how it works.
Okay, I want to.
Just one
I want
thing,
to
Anna, the bibliography that they study also, all majority are in English, so they just work a hard time since the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Didn't
good.
let
That's
us
good.
go easy. It was all in English.
So I want to congratulate Raquel Miranda dos Santos and Professora Doutora Marluce Val de Carvalho Venancio of the Architecture and Urbanism Faculty of the State University of Maranhão, for presentation of their work. Thank you very much. Okay, and my congratulations to you. Now I will pass to the next candidate, whose name is Hilquias de Castro Feitosa da Silva. Ele está presente conosco ou não?
Estou sim, I am.
Tá, você pode compartilhar sua tela, por favor?
Yes, I will. Just a moment.
Tá. Hilquias de Castro Feitosa da Silva, our next student.
If you allow me to interrupt, the correct pronunciation is Hilquias.
Hilquias, desculpa, perdão, por meu fala errada. Hilquias de Castro Feitosa da Silva, tá ok agora?
Perfect.
Tá, valeu. Obrigado pela minha correção aí, tá, valeu. Hilquias de Castro Feitosa da Silva, he is a student of the, also of the Architecture and Urbanism Department, faculty of the State University of Maranhão. He's also undergraduate scholar of our program. He is going to present his work with title Modern Women, Feminine Architectural Production in the 20th and the 21st Century in São Luís, Maranhão. He worked under the kind supervision of Gretchen Soares
Flieger
of the CCT. Okay. So you have 10 minutes to present your work, please. It's all to you now.
Can you see my projection? Yes, can you?
Yeah, we can see.
It's now in full screen.
Hilquias,
Yes,
yes.
it is.
Okay, so once again, good morning, everyone. It's a great honor and pleasure to be here once again. I would like to start my presentation. This work has the title of Modern Women, Feminine Architecture Production in 20th and 21st Century in São Luís, Maranhão. It was done by me, Hilquias de Castro Feitosa da Silva, and my research supervisor, that was Professor Gretchen Soares Flieger. Okay, so the abstract of this research is that the modern architecture and the modern movement, they were responsible for a great world revolution in the economic and cultural and social layers of the society. And inside all of these changes, one of the most significant that we would like to, of course, highlight here was the insertion of women in the labor market. And of course, we can discuss the ways of this introduction was done, but however, this process led in the future to results for more representativeness and positioning of women in architecture. And this research had as a goal the valorization, the contextualization, and mapping of some of the modernist feminine work in the city of São Luís that was done in the period of the 20th and now in the 21st century. Okay, so talking about the background of the research, of course, is the modern movement itself. So we need to introduce the movement to understand a little bit. And the modern movement, it starts from the Industrial Revolution in the middle of the 17th century in Europe. And it kind of surprised the whole world with its new technology practices in different areas of knowledge, such, of course, as the architecture, as well said by Benevolo in his book, The History of Modern Architecture. And the modern movement, just like any other movement, it had some particular characteristics, some improvements, some regressions, and one that is well known is, of course, the practice of the modern movement of breaking with all the parameters and all the knowledge that was did before it. So it not just in architecture, but also in the others and a lot of areas of knowledge and a lot of areas inside of society, like the social, the economics, the workers, and of course the genders. layers of society. And this last one is, of course, the one that is most important for us because of the context of the insertion, of course, of women inside of the architecture market. So the methodology used in this research was, of course, first study and deepening in the theoretical referential, of course, to understand the modern movement itself, to understand how it came to Brazil, to understand how it came to São Luís, and of course, to understand the positioning of women inside of all of it. The field research in some public agencies, as we will see next, like the library and documents of the Council of Architecture and Urbanism of Maranhão, the CAU. Some photographic surveys of the projects and the documents that were studied in the research, some online meetings with the research supervisor, because we need to remember that this research was done during the period of COVID-19 pandemic. So we need to do the online meetings with the professor and supervisor. And of course, some participations in events about the modern movement, just like this one we're doing right now. And talk about the results of the research. The first of them is, of course, the contextualization of women inside of the architecture market. So it is known that the women role inside of the labor market itself, not just in architecture, it suffered several changes all over the times. And logically, it wouldn't be different inside of the architecture market. And it has happened, of course, due to the advent of the modernism, as we already said, because of this practice of the modern movement of breaking with the parameters that came before him. And the modernism comes not just as a movement and not just as an architecture style, but also as a revolution in the social, cultural, and work dynamics. And since then, it's possible to observe, of course, a bigger presence of women inside of the labor market, and because of that inclusion we're talking about. However, it is important to note that besides that fact, women body was still had as less important in the beginning of the modern movement, having men body as the main model in the beginnings of the movement. At your side, we can see one of the works that was used inside of that contextualization that is called Invisible Women, to understand, of course, the positioning of women inside of the architecture and all the labor markets in Brazil. Okay, so the main part, of course, of this research is the understanding and the research of the regional feminine production, of course, in the city of São Luís. And the main character of this research is Graci Pérez. Graci Pérez is an architect, a Brazilian architect. Thanks God she's still alive. And she graduated in the University of Brasilia. And since the 1975, she started to act in the capital in the elaboration of small, medium, and big projects in interior, institutional, commercial, house buildings all along the city. She worked most of the time of her career in the Borgia and Pérez architecture office alongside with her husband, Ricardo Pérez, which you can see both of them in the picture at your side. And at the ending of the last year, at the beginning of this year, she, close to her retirement of her career, she donated most part of her documents of all of the projects she did along her career. And these documents that are nowadays in the library of the CAU, MA, we had the opportunity to search, to photograph, and to study a little more to understand how the modern movement and its characteristics had influenced the production of Graci Pérez, one of the great women architects that we have here in São Luís. And now we're going to talk about some of her productions. The first one is her house, and the architect's house is always a good project to highlight in the career of an architect because it reveals a lot of the architect herself in that case. So we can see the influences of the modern movement, as you can see in the pictures of the floor plan, of the front elevation and some sections. the way of those straight shapes and straight volumes they present themselves in the building. We can see the modern movement in the way that the materials are used in a very raw way, like the rocks. We can see the woods, we can see the concrete itself, and everything is kind of brute. And you see, it is, of course, a characteristics of the modern movement that so influenced the architect in doing her production. And right here we can see a residential building that we were not capable of taking photographs, but we can see in the plans and the elevations, the way of these shapes and these materials represents a lot how the modern movement influenced her production. We can see right here we have another building that is the zirconia building that is from the 21st century already to 2005, and is of course another type of another typology of project, is a commercial building. But right here we can see some of the characteristics of the modernism that were proposed by the Le Corbusier himself, like the use of pilotis. We have a lot of windows and glass in glass. We have, of course, the materials once again used in that raw way. Those shapes really straight. We don't have much the use of curves, and all of these characteristics of the modernism and the way that they influenced her projection, her projects, better saying, and all of these projects are inserted in the context of our city, São Luís. And the conclusion is that it's widely known that women in architecture always had an unfavorable position due to all the historical process of gender representativity. With the advent of the modernist movement, the modernism, those prerogatives started to change, and slowly women have passed to conquer their space in architecture, such in academic, and of course in the labor market also. And it's clear the way women have been and still are unprivileged inside the general context of the world, Brazilian, and of course in São Luís architecture. Having the modern movement, besides all the controversies, as an impulse to modify this situation that over the time has been suffering transformations and attributing to women their correct place and correct recognition in the labor market and in the architecture market. That's it. That's all. I would like to thank you for your time, and thank you once again.
Okay, thank you very much. Hilquias, como que pronuncia?
Hilquias
de Castro, Feitosa, da sua perdão pela minha pronúncia. Vou passar para a professora Malu Silva de Carvalho para falar alguns comentários, seu trabalho. Professora, por favor.
Okay. Congratulations, Hilquias. It's
Thanks.
such a refreshment to see a male voice speaking about women. It's really great to say that. And as I usually to say, we learn a lot of our students. Hilquias knows he was my student exactly in the modernist movement, in the architecture in 20th century. And this was not this class that led me for a new book that was published a few years ago, 2 years, I think, that studied the production of women in Bauhaus. And they were very refreshing for me because they said to me, Professor, I never heard a word about a woman in Bauhaus. And I said, yes, it's my fault. I have to look after to say how hard that there are women, of course, in Bauhaus. And then we remember just a few, but this professor that's German university, that's Elisabeth Otto, that wrote a book that's called Women in Bauhaus. And she highlighted how we just forget them. We just forget to talk about them. And it's a main word in architecture. It's a contradiction for us in Brazil because our schools are full of women. It's not the reality in the entire world. It's very different. And you see the prizes are always for men, even though they are coupled and they do the work along with a woman. The woman was never prized. It's just the man. So it's a very important work that you did. And if you want to pursue these studies, I don't know if you are interested in that, I would like to suggest this research in Bauhaus women and others that just in the beginning of the 19th century that are working just in architecture.
Perfect.
So congratulations for you, Professor Great. I'm not saying the name corrected. Great Flieger, that work in modernism and women in modernism is very important.
Thank you, teacher, once again.
Thank you, Professor Malus. Now we'll go to Professor Andrea. Please, Professor Andrea, you have some comments.
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Hilquias, Silva, and your supervisor, Great Flieger. I have no questions because it was very interesting and I really understand all the stages of your research. It's very interesting. It's very important for us to know more and more about women history, and in this case, about the special in this area. So I'm very happy about the research, and I understood all your development. Thank you. Congratulations again.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you, Professor Andrea. I want to congratulate Hilquias de Castro Feitosa da Silva para apresentar seu trabalho da Faculdade de Arquitetura e Urbanismo. Seu orientador é Geret Soares Flugier, do CCT. Então, se você quer adicionar alguma palavra no final, algum comentário, você está bem-vindo.
I just would like to thank once again. Actually, I had the opportunity to present here in the last year. I was also talking about the modern movement, that time about the architect Braga Diniz, and now once again talking about women production. And I didn't know that Professor Marluce would be here, which is a great responsibility because she is one of the responsibles for teaching us about the modern movement. And I really started to love this movement, and it is really sad to see how he's kind of forgotten in our city. And me, alongside Professor Grete and Professor Hermes, we are doing this job of trying to map and recognize it in photographs and, do all this job with the modern movement. And for me, it's also a great pleasure to have this opportunity to present it here once again. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hilquias de Castro Feitoso, tá bom? Agora vamos passar para o próximo candidato, tá bom? Você pode sair daí, tá? Obrigado. Next candidate is Bianca Costa Silveira. Ela está presente?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Ok. Bianca Costa Silveira, você pode compartilhar sua tela, por favor. Okay, Bianca Costa Silveira. She is our student, undergraduate student of the Arquitectura and Urbanismo of the State University of Maranhão. She's going to present her work in the category extension, and she's going to present her work. Name is Poetics in the Architecture of São Luís, Rua do Sol, under the kind supervision of Professor Rosilene Mota Garrido. Certo? Bianca Costa Silveira, você tem 10 minutos para fazer sua apresentação.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Good evening, everyone. So I first would like to thank you for the opportunity to present my project at International section. And my name is Bianca Silveira. My research supervisor is Rosilene Garrido. She couldn't present because of personal reasons, so she apologized for that. And the theme of my project is poetics in the architecture of São Luís, Rua do Sol. So to start my presentation, I believe that everyone knows how is grandiose Maranhão architectural heritage because a great focus on São Luís and its historic center. So we can see the varied architectural styles on historic center in its dimensions. However, the valorization and conservation is not seen daily, and for the valorization of the dimensions, it's too necessary identification of these. So this doesn't happen often. So observing from this perspective, the research brings a historical and aesthetic study about the dimensions of Rua do Sol. And the main objective is contributing to the technical and artistic collection of the architecture and urbanism course, and as well as the community in general, with a virtual exhibition. And in addition to realize that architecture is more than exist concrete. So, continuing the streets about the streets because the main object of the project is Rua do Sol, and the street becomes a space where is it's appreciated from the first moment, not only being a transit environment but also mm, a land environment. So because of this, the monuments, dimensions tell histories, even your home tell histories, obviously. So São Luís, founded in September 8, 1601, had its histories told in the streets and in each tile on the facades. So, however, these decorative elements present in the streets and the tiles deteriorate over time and causing significant losses in the history. Because of this, it's necessary to develop a collection of myths about the architectural details and the decorative elements of Rua do Sol, intended to disseminate the history and culture of Maranhão. So, about the methodology, for phase or carrot, and the first moment research in citing articles and books and dissertation about the streets, about the Rua do Sol, about the architecture details, drawings, everything about the architecture work carried. So the second moment, filed servers will carry out to list and note each the monument of Rua do Sol. So the third moment, photography records were made of each mention for the identification and later organization of the decorative elements for the virtual exhibition. And finally, the fourth moment were made drawings for hands drawing of each beauty and its observer architectural details. about the research, as an objective of the research is the perception and the analyzation, appreciation of the city through artistic records. So 10 mentions located on Rua do Sol were designed highlight the architectural details, the elements decoratives, details not the seen daily. So MEL look beyond the exist concrete. The main objective of the project is to see the architecture beyond the shape of the building. So here is a small clipping of the drawings obtained during the entire research and the decades and later the architectural details were designed. So as we can see in the slide, so it's still important emphasize the poetics in the architecture because the during the entire project I could see the architecture goes beyond construction. So it's too much is much more important brings the conception about the architecture details and the drawings. So the poetics found on the Rua do Sol is present in the every detail of the each building and as tell all the tell a history. So in addition, an online exhibition was developed in which mention analysis was recorded and a history and an image of and its details selected by me. So among the mentions we have an Arthur Azevedo Theater, Artistic and Historical Museum of Maranhão, so 6 residents, and later I will make the link available in the chat for those who are interested. And the conclusion, so in summary, it's clear how important they have a tool that make it possible to research existing heritage in a given place. So since it was limits the disappearance from history and the culture. So in addition, for the observer, the details, the architecture, as well able to infer how architecture is more than space. Architecture awakes memories and each exists faked. So it's too important to see the architecture beyond the shape of the building. And here is my bibliography reference. Thank you for your attention, and I hope you enjoyed.
Okay. Thank you very much, Bianca Costa Silveira, for your presentation in here. I will pass on to Professor Marluz to add some comments about your work. Professor Marluz, please.
Yes, Bianca, we enjoy it. It's beautiful. It's very poetic, your work. And I would like to see more drawings. I know you are an artist in this art. And effectively, the virtual exposition will be a Sussex. And then I think you have to say the word to everyone to see this position. So I think it is important because it is a documentation and a documentation in a very poetic and beautiful way to preserve our. I just like suggest you that use the word casarão instead of mention because in the it's like the Jonas said, fatos, it's not suits, it's fatos. And camisola is not short, it's camisolas, and casarões are not mansions, they are casarões. So I would like to say just that because I think that the exposition will highlight this quality of the casarões of São Luís and everything. And I don't know if you put in English the virtual exposition, but it should because it's a very broad exposition and use this word. I think, yeah, like a note in the end of the page. Say casarão is a mention that is specific and it's everything. and maintain the word, but it's not important. It's just a suggestion, okay? So congratulations to you and Rosilan. Okay, that's your
Thank you.
advisor.
Thank you, Professor Marlus. I will pass to Professor Andrea if she want to add some comments in the last, please.
I just want to congratulate you and your supervisor, Bianca. It's a very interesting extension project. And I grew up at São João Street next to Soulo Street. So it's very interesting for me too, especially according to my memories and my history. But I really like the idea, the drawings, and I would like to see the exposition too. So it's very important for us to have this memory and spread out around the world the information you collected and registered. So it's just to congratulate you and your supervisor. It's a very interesting and historic extension project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Andrea. So I want to congratulate Bianca Costa Silveira and her supervisor, Professor Rosilan Mota Garrido of the Architecture and Urbanism Department of the State University of Maranhão. I want to congratulate you for presenting your work here in the 8th edition of the Cafe International. Okay. If in the last, if you want to add something, feel free. You can say whatever you want.
I want to just say thank you for the congratulations, and I am so happy that you are enjoy it. And this is thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Now we'll pass to the next candidate, Saulo Vinicius. Saulo Vinicius. Falta 3, tá bom? Com uma pouca paciência. Acho que até meio a gente termina, né? Saulo, tá presente?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Can you share your presentation with us, please?
Yes, I will transmit right now.
Okay, thank you. So the next person, candidate who is going to present here is Saulo Vinicius Rodrigues da Silva. He is from the literature department of the campus Caxias, State University of Maranhão. He is going to present his work in the category extensão, we call it in Portuguese. He is going to present his work, Opening the Trunk of Legends and Stories from Caxias, under the kind supervision of Professora Antônia Miramar Alves Silva Almeida Lima of the Department of Letras, né? Okay.
Yeah.
You have 10 minutes to present your work, please.
Okay, thank you. Can you see the slides?
No, I cannot see. I can only see you.
Okay.
Please share with us.
And now?
No.
Not yet. Let me see. This is my first time using this platform, so I'm kind of lost. Just a sec. And now?
And now it's okay. Now you just need to.
So
just need to put in presentation mode.
Okay. It is okay? Can I start?
Presentation mode. It's not in the presentation mode. You just click in here. Just do full screen. Onde tem aquele número 90% está escrito bem no lado. Tem aquele sinal negativo, positivo lá embaixo. Tem aquele sinal.
No canto inferior direito, onde tem esse bannerzinho, logo ao lado de inferior. Lá embaixo, lá embaixo. Isso aí.
Isso.
Now, you can
Great.
see? Can I start?
I think not.
Can you see?
No.
What is happening? Let me try again. I'm sorry.
I'm ready to help you. If you need.
Yes, I will need, please.
I'll do it now. Can you see it? Ok.
Sim, Saulo, tá tudo bem. Bom, agora a gente não está te ouvindo. Bota o som.
Eu acho que é a mesma compatibilidade, pelo que entendi. De Office com coisa aí, eu acho.
Está mudo, Saulo.
Falando ainda agora, a gente estava ouvindo ele. O que foi que aconteceu?
Tá mostrando que o microfone está desligado.
Então liga, exatamente, liga o microfone.
Saulo, se você quiser tentar sair e entrar novamente, para nós aparece que é simplesmente o seu microfone que está desligado. Se for conveniente, nós podemos fazer com o Saulo como fizemos com Maria Paula. Resolver esse problema técnico e passar para a próxima. É uma sugestão.
Não, como sugestão, pode chamar a Ellen, e enquanto ele resolve isso, a gente não vai atrasando.
Tá, pode ser. Vamos para a próxima candidata. Ellen, está presente?
Yes, I'm here.
Ok. Are you ready? You can...
Yes, I can present.
Okay.
Okay, just a
Thank you.
moment. Let me see.
Okay, so we will pass to the next candidate, Leite de Sousa. We have some technical problem with the Saulo, Vinicius, Rodrigues da Silva. We are sorry in here, okay? Saulo, Vinicius, você vem depois, tá bom? Depois de Ellen, pode ser? Só um pouquinho. Aí, Leite de Sousa, she belongs to the Faculty of Literature in English of the campus Balsas of the State University of Maranhão. She's going to present her work in the category extension. We call it extensão in here. She's going to present her work with the title Composition, Teaching Writing Skills to Beginners. Under the kind supervision of Professor Dr. José Ailson the Moses of the Department of Literature of the CASBA. Okay. Ellen Leite de Souza, you have 10 minutes to present your work, please.
Okay, is my screen showing? Can everybody see and hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you and we can see your screen, but you just need to go to the presentation mode now.
Okay. Okay, I already put in presentation mode. Can everybody see?
Not yet.
Yes, okay.
Now, and now. What about now?
Not yet.
All
Not
right.
working.
For me, it's already in the full screen for me.
You just change the slide. Let's check it out.
Okay, just a
Change the
second.
slide.
Okay, I changed. Can everybody see?
Não, you
No,
have to
it's hang.
change. Você tem que trocar
It's
aqui
hanged.
agora. Se for,
It's
se for
hanged out.
ficar assim, tem que trocar aqui no isso. Tem que trocar no outro modo. Lá.
It might happen that the slides don't move from one to other when it's in the full screen. I practiced here on this platform and it was having this problem. So I think someone can present for me. Alguém aqui do técnico pode apresentar. I think it's better.
Okay.
Okay.
You can send to Exxon.
I already sent on the group on WhatsApp.
Ok. Exxon, você pode compartilhar para a gente? Ok, now.
Okay, that's it.
That's
Thank
good. Okay,
you
now.
so much.
Now you can start your presentation. Thank you.
Okay, so good morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ellen. Before I start the presentation, I want to thank for the opportunity to be here and to talk about this project, which, in my opinion, is very important for students and academic dissemination. About me, I am a student at campus of Balsas State University of Maranhão, and my research supervisor is the Professor Dr. José Ailson Lemos de Souza. And my today's presentation title is Composition, Teaching Writing Skills to Beginners. Next slide, please. Well, the aim of this work is to present Composition, a writing workshop in English that is offered at the campus of Balsas. The workshop is designed for college students with beginner level of proficiency. Based on Araújo, 2004, we adopt a processual writing approach to teach writing. We apply this approach to developing writing skills by Patricia Wilcox Peterson. Based on the supervisor's account, students enrolled in the workshop demonstrated a clearly more accurate knowledge in English syntax and vocabulary than students that did not participate in composition classes. Next slide, please. So, background. So it's a fact that in the context of higher education, writing ability is essential for academic dissemination beyond our geography and linguistic boundaries. We realize its importance because it's the way where we communicate our studies, findings, and results. For that reason, Ilona Leck points out that academics in different disciplines have been under a lot of pressure to publish internationally. And to many academic disciplines, publish internationally means for better or for worse, publish in English. So in this way, the project Composition was made because of the difficulty of writing in English in our college course and the need of writing skills for ENAD, which is an exam that evaluates the performance of students who are finishing the course. So the aim is provide opportunities to support college students in academic writing. Next, please. Okay, now let's move on and talk about our methodology. Our approach is that writing is better worked out as process rather than product. But what does writing as process mean? Writing process is a multi-step process that includes pre-writing, drafting, revising, correcting, editing, evaluation, and publishing. It starts with a pre-writing, which means before writing. Here, students will plan their writing. Then draft, it's when students will write their first draft. Then there is a response for the student's draft by the teacher training. This feedback is to help them for the next step, which is revising. In revising, students will change their writing to make it better. In editing step, which is the next, students will check the writing. And finally, the publish, it's when students will share their final writing that will be evaluated. Every step, it's important to their final writing. So our concept of writing as process derives from the works by Araújo and Hayers and Flower. Our pedagogical resource is the book Developing Writing Skills, Writing Skills Practice Book for EFL Beginning Intermediate Level by Patricia Wilcox Peterson. And we take more exercise of grammar points and vocabulary from Essential Grammar and Use by Raymond Murphy. Next, please. So here we have in figure 1, our reference book, Developing Writing Skills by Patricia Wilcox Peterson. It contains 20 units and it's freely available on the internet, and it has short and basic text with sentence structure, activities, and sentence constructions. So only after a set of writing, construction, and grammar exercises, students are required to write a composition. Next, please. So about our results. The first academic term of composition that occurred in 2021 to 2022, according to the supervisor's accounts, students enrolled in the workshop were noticeably better in completing writing tasks for college subjects compared to students who did not take part in the course, who did not participate in the course. Also, we had as a formal assessment a writing task, a pre-test and post-test, which the results are under analysis. And now, in our current cycle, that is now in the period of 2022 to 2023, we consider offering a larger number of vacancies for the workshop in order to reach students from other courses and other colleges if possible. Next. So finally, we could conclude that in terms of teaching, composition is a project that focuses on one of the most required skills for college students of language, Portuguese, English, which is writing meaningful and clear text in both languages. So an additional workshop specific for that purpose is not only appropriate, but also a timely support to students who are in university. So despite writing being a complex skill, writing at a basic level, it's certainly made more accessible by means of procedural writing approach. Composition is a simple but significant contribution to higher education in Maranhão. Next. So these are my references. With this, I conclude my presentation, and thank you so much for listening and for your attention. That's it.
Thank you very much, Leite de Sousa, for your presentation. Now I'll pass to Professora Marluce. She has some words
Well,
about your work.
yes, what can I say? Congratulations. That's simple like that. And when she was presented, came to my mind that well, it's not difficult for them to present. Maybe it was for me, but not for them. It's very they just face the challenge that you are the presentation doesn't go well, so you put it in another way. Well, okay. Congratulations, that's all. That's a good project and a good work and a good presentation, Ellen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Malus. Vamos passar Professor Andrea. If you have some words about the work, you want to add some comments about the work, please.
Congratulations, Ellen. It was very nice to hear and know more about your station project with Dr. José Sousa. I started my professional career as an English teacher for children. That's why I'm very interested. It's very interesting for me to listen about the writing skill and all the material you cited. I had already started too. So that's very interesting for me. And as Marluce said, you explained it very well, and I'm very happy to hear and stay here with you. Thank you. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Andrea. So, Ellen Leite de Souza, I want to congratulate you and your supervisor, Professor Dr. José Ailson Lemos, of the Faculty of Literature, Letras, English, of the campus Balsas, for presenting your work in the Sessão Internacional. I want to congratulate you and your supervisor. And now in the last, if you want to add some comments.
Well, this is my first experience presenting in English, so I love English, and it's a special moment for me. It's a special moment for me to be here. I want to thank for the opportunity. I want to thank all of you for the comments, the congratulations, observations, and I want to thank to my research supervisor, José Ailson Lemos Souza, for encouraging me, because without him, I wouldn't be here. So thank you so much, all of you.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we are going to the next candidate. We leave it there due to technical problems.
I would like to apologize because I need to go now.
Okay. Oh, no, you can go, Professor. Thank you very much, Professor.
In the beginning of the
I was okay. So have a nice journey.
Thank you
very much.
Very much. I really apologize.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. So we are going towards the Saulo Vinicius. Saulo Vinicius, estão presentes conosco. A Elkson mandou a apresentação para você.
Sim, está aqui.
Okay. So we are going back towards our friend Saulo Vinicius Rodrigues da Silva, of the Faculty of Letras, Faculty of Literature, English, Caxias, Campus Caxias. He's going to present his work, Opening the Trunk of Legends and Stories from Caxias, under the kind supervision of Professora Antônia Miramar Alves Silva Almeida Lima of the Department of Literature. Okay, you have 10 minutes to present your work. So all of you, good luck. Wish you good luck. You can say we can see the sharing of the slide. Now we cannot hear you. Está falando, Saulo? Ou não? Não estou ouvindo, não.
Eu acho que ele não está aqui, eu acho que ele não está ativo no momento na sala. Infelizmente.
Vê ele tá, a gente consegue ver ele aqui, no
Ah,
cantinho.
vocês estão vendo?
Eu estou vendo ele, só não estou ouvindo.
Ele está aqui com a câmera ligada. Mas
Tá com a
acho que o
câmera
microfone
ligada, a
dele.
gente está vendo, agora não consegue ouvir. Você está usando algum microfone? Sabe, tira o microfone, usa só o som do computador. Não é que não posso usar, mas é que às vezes a configuração do computador está diferente, então não vamos arriscar isso agora. Vamos botar o computador sozinho.
Está desligado o microfone. Liga aí, por favor.
Liga teu microfone.
Faz o seguinte, entra pelo celular, usa o microfone do celular. Desliga a câmera do celular e só o microfone do celular, se você consegue rapidinho. Dá a segunda entrada aí. Aí assim vai ficar os dois. Aí você pode falar de microfone celular. Aí tem que desligar o áudio do celular, tá bom? Tem que desativar a fala dele, para não fazer interferência. Ok.
Okay, everybody's working?
Só desliga a saída do som do seu celular. Aí tem aquela opção, a saída você desliga lá, para não faz aquela eco na hora de falar.
Certo.
Ainda tá. Ou desliga o microfone do seu coisa também, aqui do notebook. Desliga o microfone aqui, se ele está ativado. Aí
O
liga
pior
só
é
o
que
microfone lá.
esse que está desativado. Eu realmente não sei o que está acontecendo.
Então desliga desliga o som aí, a saída do som do computador. Aí a hora que você termina, você liga de novo para a gente ouvir. Você
Saulo, se
só
você conseguir, pronto.
escuta e fala pelo seu celular, você
Efetivamente.
entendeu?
Entendi. Melhorou agora?
Melhorou, agora tá certo.
Okay, you can pass the slides, please. Okay, this project consists in divulging the legends and the stories from Caxias, Maranhão, an important city of the state. We know that Caxias has a great literature studies, great authors like Gonçalves. So in the reading literature, this city is one of the best of the state. And this project consists about to spread, to telling stories and legends during a period of 1 year, aiming the preservation of the historical and cultural heritage of the city. So the storytelling is important because in the oral tradition, on the popular level, the legends hold a great legendary repertoire, diffused only the urban area in a very shy way for not being well known. So in the oral literature, mainly the stories from Caxias, it's a few people get to know these stories. In the area of literature in general, people used to read books and not make contact with the oral literature. So this project can be a resource to make people have contact with our own culture. So this project aimed to rescue the legends and the stories of the city, forming a small group of tellers of these narratives through social media, passing them on to the new generations and to the people who visit the city with the intention of spreading, above all, the local culture. So behind this project, we aiming to reunite a small group of storytellers of these legends from Caxias to pass these stories from far to the new generation, to kids, to people who visit the city, because we know Caxias is a city with cultural patrimony very speculated. Here we have the Memorial of Balaiada, we have the Mirante of Balaiada, and many other places that people used to come here and visit. So this project aimed on the first place to spread these narratives. Next slide, please. So before all, on the background, I'd like to tell you the concept and the difference mainly among myth, legend, and fable by Câmara Cascudo. Câmara Cascudo is a very important researcher of oral literature and indigenous culture and to patrimony of the stories around this country. So Câmara Cascudo says that a fable is a story that is generally short and mostly associated to children, and main characters is usually an animal like a fox, for example, endowed with human characteristics like greed and ambitions, always with the intention of providing some life lesson. And here we call moral. It's most known to moral, to those who are reading or listening to it. So the myth present by movement, by action, by human testimony may conserve some characteristics that individualize it, but it has customs that are changing, adapted to the conditions of the environment in which it acts. So the myth is the figure, is the creature, the fabulous creature that can make miracles, that can change a scene of a context on the forest and another place that the myth that these creators are living in. So the legend is an element of fixation. Sorry, it determines a local value mainly, and it explains a habit or religious pilgrimage. Similar in various parts of the world, similar for dozens of centuries, they differ in details. That's important. And this differentiation characterizes. So the legend, can you take back the slide, please? Thank you. So the legend is the story. The legend is the context behind the myth. For example, in Caxias, we have many legends. For example, the legend of Onça Lídia. The Onça Lídia can figure as a myth. So when we take the Onça Lídia for the Caxias culture, Onça Lídia becomes a legend. That's what it says. Next slide, please. So about methodology, part of the application of this project, the meetings, the planning, and the studies occurred here in Caxias, Maranhão, following the steps. One, the participation of the team and theater workshops and telling of the legends and stories of Caxias. And the selection of the legends collected in the first stage of the project, the study of the theoretical references, weekly meetings with the project supervisor and a planning of drawing context among the public of Caxias in general, with emphasis on 5th and 6th grade students from the main municipal schools in Caxias. So this project started in September 2019, and we plan to, on the first place, apply to put out this project, better saying, in the schools for the kids, né? Emphasis on 5th and 6th grade students. So on the Memorial da Balaiada or Miranda da Balaiada, and public locals that tourists and many people used to visit. So because of the pandemics, the hit of pandemics on March 2020, these plans we have to be rewinded, and we had to take the project from the personal area to the virtual area. Next slide, please. And about the results, due to the pandemic state of the country, about March 2020, several plans had to be canceled, and the project participants had to align the proposals according to the new context. And next to this, we reunite and we planning again what things we could do about this project. And we decided on the first place to recording a pilot video, homemade video of the legend of Our Lady of the Bottles, or Nossa Senhora das Garrafas, from the presentation of the project. And it's 100% virtual modality, having all possible care was taken to ensure that the process occurred safely. And so after the posting of this video was done, as well as the definition of podcast was a solution that we find to lead with the pandemics and the new state of communication, as fixed tool of the whole process from then on. And next to this, we're recording the podcast about the legends of the medals of Lesbon Sand, ou medalhinhas do Santa Lesbão, the legend of Rosário Church, ou a lenda da Igreja do Rosário, the legend of Pé de Garrafa, ou Butterfoot, the legend of Cangalheiro, the legend of Mãe d'Água, and palm trees of Gonçalves Dias Square, and the legend of Disseu and Itapecuru River. All these made at home separately, the small group that I talked to you before, by the researchers and volunteers. And finally, the podcasts were hosted on the SoundCloud platform. Next slide, please. So we have here a print screen of our webpage of Instagram, Lendas de Caxias. Next, please. And here our SoundCloud page when we hosted these podcasts. Next, please. And finally, the pilot video that we recorded about the legend of Our Lady of Bottles that was posted on our Instagram page. Next, please. So in conclusion, this project was important because we, regarding the pandemics, we could get to approximate people from this culture and from the histories of society. And this project made us reflect that the majority of the histories was forgotten and discontinued, and many people can have contact with this. And moreover, a very small part of the population has knowledge of this linguistic and cultural wealth. So it can be seen that through the social network, citizens were able to mobilize, get to know, and even collaborate with this work, although it did not go as planned due to the unfortunate circumstances. Next, please. So that's my references. Thank you for the attention.
Thank you very much, Saulo. Vinicius Rodrigues da Silva. Vamos para a professora Marluce, né? She's very much tired
Yes,
from the last 3 hours.
it's finishing,
Okay,
but I
Professor.
have a very good time this morning here, I must say. It's like the others. Congratulations are in order. Saulo presented a very interesting project and very important. It's very important what you are saying and everything. It's okay. I want to congratulate you and your supervisor, and that's all I can do now. To say now, I want to see the stories that you are telling and everything, because it's very interesting to, and if the cities in Brazil have this I'm going to say this initiative, it will be very good for everyone. Okay, so it's all, Alan.
Thank you, Professor Marluce. Thank you, Saulo Vinicius Rodrigues da Silva. You have some technical problems, and at last you succeeded to present your work. Thank you very much. I want to congratulate you and your supervisor, Professora Antônia Miramar Alves Silva Almada Lima, of the Department of Literature of the State University of Maranhão, for presenting your work in here in the Sessão Internacional. Thank you very much for your presentation. If you want to add some comments about your work, if you have some experience you can want to share with us, feel free, you can send here.
So this project was very important to me, and at first I'd like to thank my supervisor, Professor Antônia Miramar. And this experience was so good, and as I said before on the presentation, unfortunately the pandemics hit and we could not to check the project for the population and the personal way. We had to go to the podcasts and other ways to do it online, but it was good as always, and that's it. It's a good experience.
Okay, thank you very much. Once again, thank you very much for your presentation. Be present when here. Okay, now we are going to the last candidate, I think so. It's Luan Ribeiro Costa. Is he present in here or not? You can switch off your camera, please. Thank you. Luan
Yes,
Ribeiro
I'm
Costa.
present.
Present. Oh, thank you. So, can you share please your screen with us?
And can you, because I'm on cell phone.
Ok. Elkson, você pode compartilhar a tela dele, por favor? Ele mandou para você?
Ok, I'll do it now.
Está no grupo do evento.
The last one, professor. Último, né?
Yeah. Can I start?
Look, Luan Ribeiro Costa, our last candidate of this session. He's an undergraduate student of the course literature of the campus Balsas, State University of Maranhão. He is going to present his work in the category extension. We call it extension. The work he is going to present is the storytelling in English as a teaching strategy in the course of modern language at campus Balsas, under the kind supervision of Professora Doutora Laíra de Cássia Barros Ferreira Maldaner. Se eu pronunciei errado, peço desculpa, tá bom? Professora Doutora Laíra de Cássia Barros Ferreira Maldaner. Luan Ribeiro Costa, you have 10 minutes to present your work. Please, you can start your presentation. Thank you.
Okay, good morning for everybody. It's my pleasure to be here. My project has a title, the storytelling in English was a teaching strategy in the course of modern language at Campus Balsas. The school shareholder is Silva Ribeiro Costa. The research supervisor is Laíra de Castro Barros Ferreira Maldane. Academic degree, PhD. Next page, please. Abstract. This project has an objective to improve the reading and the production of texts in English through storytelling for pre-service teachers, especially those who are in the supervised internship stage, and also to English teachers from the public elementary school in Balsas. These ideas provide English language learners with an incentive for a more dynamic and participatory way of learning. We realized that using storytelling as a teaching strategy in the modern languages course allow the future professional of modern languages to teach class in a safer way. First of all, our project want to pass to them that we have a lot of ways to give classes, English classes, because we know in Brazil, the most of the English classes is based in grammar. Grammar is really important, but we have a lot of ways to do that. And we want to improve the reading and the productions of texts in English through the storytelling. Please, next page. Background. Reading is important for excellent storytelling, especially in foreign language, as it goes beyond the vision of understanding only the linguistic code. I started all the classes of the project reading the history, show them some pictures about the histories, and use body language to get better to understand the history. Next page, please. Background. Shimtus 2007 explained that good language teaching started from the initial stage to advanced level, developing the language through everyday situation that is real life. All the histories that I worked on is about real life, such as go to shopping, go to the restaurant, something that happened in our life. And we usually start with an initial staging to advance the level. All the classes, we change the level for the students, but in the same stage of the students is are the researchers. Shimtes 2007 emphasizes that a good class should be quiet, varied, providing the student with the opportunity to work in the classroom on the language skills, the development of oral expression, listening comprehension, and the strategy of reading and writing skills. Okay, here we give them the opportunity to express themselves, to speak about the history, to tell the words that they don't know, and they're gonna write these words, write what does it means, and we're gonna talking about the experience that they have with the history. Next page, please. Methodology. Therefore, we list in a stage of the project that are implied in person. The meeting takes place at the State University of Maranhão, Balsas campus on Saturday afternoons with activities in the classroom. The following phases followed. The selection of students from the modern language schools at the State University of Maranhão Balsas campus. The students of modern language that wanted to participate, they have to talk with me and my supervisor teacher, supervisor professor, and we're gonna make the selection of these students. That will be the selection of municipal public elementary teachers through a curriculum that will be sent by an institutional email from the project team. The teachers that wanted to participate of the project, they have to send us an email talking about your curriculum, and talking about that they wanted to participate of the project. Let us see, meeting with the scholarship holder and the project collaboration for the detail of choice of stories to be worked on. All the histories that we choose, me and my scholarship holder, me and my supervisor teacher, all the history that we choose is based in the last experience that we had with the last histories. Next page, please. Ethnographic records of all encounters as well as the histories worked on and techniques used to improve the reading and writing in English. We have a schedule with all the histories that we worked on, all the experience with these histories, and